Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Okay, welcome back. So, we are on the module 4 for week 3. This is the 4th video for week 3, and we are continuing our discussion on plastic waste management rules, as well as we'll look at as we said in this week, since rules takes a little bit of time and we are trying to explain it in a bit detail. As the same time, we are also one of the goal we had was to compare this rule, look at the challenges and implementation of this rule, and also talk about the practicality of this rule, whether the things that is being proposed are really practical from whatever is the situation in the country. So, those discussion you saw in last 3 videos. So, again the discussion will continue in this video, and we are also will start comparing the global rules and regulation with the Indian rules probably in this video, and then continue that to the last video for this week. So, again, if you have any question, do feel free to put it on the discussion board. We are trying to answer the question back to you within 24 hours. We'll try our best to do it, and we have been doing it so far. So, we hope that we'll continue to do that. And discussion forum is the only place where you will get the questions answered, because we cannot answer individual emails for several thousand students. And at the same time, we don't have any WhatsApp group. There was some discussion board, we saw some of the in the discussion forum. Some students were trying to create a WhatsApp group. If you want to create a WhatsApp group among yourselves, you are free to do that, but that has nothing to do with NPTEL or from our side, from the course delivery team side. So, that will be something of your own stuff. So, we are not supposed to get into those WhatsApp groups and other stuff. So, just wanted to let you know. So, that's not an official thing, but you can do an unofficial thing on your own among the group of students. If you can contact them, we have no problem with that. So, but any official information will always be through the discussion forum. So, continuing our discussion in terms of there was a different aspect of the rule. So, there are there is some labeling requirement, as illustrated in this particular slide. There are certain labeling requirement of the products as per the plastic waste management rule. So, each plastic carry bag and multi-layered packaging shall have following information printed in English. So, they have to have these information printed in English. At the same time, I think that they should also, although it says in English, but they should, it's kind of difficult in a country like India, where we have so many different languages are spoken, and so many different languages are used from, say, if you go from one state to another state. So, we cannot have all those languages there, but at least I would Hindi is mostly in the north, and there are some south languages. So, I don't know if we can put some of the other languages in there as well, which will help. Otherwise, many people may not understand English. But at this as it says, but the information, so that's kind of a drawback. But again, there are practical challenges of what you can do. So, you can, as I said, you cannot have too many languages printed there. So, carry bag, the name has to be there, the name of the company which makes the carry bag, the registered number, the thickness. Because remember, in terms of carry bag, what is banned now? Anything less than 40 microns. So, 50 microns and above, those bags you still see, which are replacing those 40 microns. So, if you go to a shop these days and they were giving you the thin bag, now they are giving you a little bit thicker bag, which is 50 micron and above. So, which again is it from an environmental point of view, is it a good move? Yes, but is it really solving the problem in entirety, in totality? No, because if at 50 micron also there are certain dangerous there will be certain impact associated with that. So, what we need to do is ultimately, as I said, as I have been saying many times, we have to start finding the alternative material which can replace plastic. and can do all the functions that plastic does, then only we will have the problem solved. And the alternative material should not be a similar material which will end up, say, from a plastic waste management we are discussing today, and 10 years down the line I may have to offer another course with some other waste management, which is the material which replace plastic. So, it has to be greener material, it has to be environmental friendly material. So, that is what we need to look at in a big picture, in a like a if you think about from a like a holistic point of view. But in the meantime, we should focus on managing the plastic waste. So, again, plastic is not a problem, the plastic waste is a problem. So, we have to start managing that plastic waste. And for the multi-layered package, again, the name and registered number of the manufacturer, compostable plastic name and the certificate number. Very recently, if I would see if we can put that circular or the notice that came from Central Pollution Control Board on the discussion forum for you to see. It is a small one-page PDF where they have listed certain companies which were selling compostable plastic, but actually does not have a certification of that. So, as it says here that you need to have a certificate number. So, but that certificate number is not there because they really did not get the certificate, they did not get their plastics. So, there will be a lot of greenwashing happening, that is what is called greenwashing. People will claim that things are green, but they may not be actually green. So, that is why the regulation requires us to have certain checks and balances. So, this certificate number which is needed for compostable plastic was missing from the product of those companies, and they were actually right now they have been blacklisted or banned, you can say. They cannot sell those products. So, because they are claiming those as a compostable plastic, but we do not know whether it is compostable or non-compostable. So, that those issues needs to be there. So, just so continuing with that discussion, if you look at in terms of what is the role of the different authorities, again we are putting a rule number here. These rule numbers are referring to the rules from where things are taken from that rules document. So, Pollution Control Board and Pollution Control Committee, they have certain rules, so they have certain roles and responsibilities prescribed. They have certain authority. Secretary in charge of urban development, concerned Gram Panchayat. So, just here we have just highlighted their main role or main responsibility, you can say. So, as per the Pollution Control Board and the Pollution Control Committee, they will enforce of the for registration, manufacturing of plastic product, processing and disposal of plastic waste. Urban Development Secretary, say state as well as the union territory, for all of them this is a state and union territory, and concerned Gram Panchayat is a state or union territories. So, enforcement of provisions related to waste management by waste generators. So, they have to urban development, because the waste management actually comes under Ministry of Urban Development. So, they have been asked to enforce the provision related to waste management. Gram Panchayat, again provisions related to waste management by waste generator, because urban development will do for the urban areas, Gram Panchayat will do it for the rural areas. And we are seeing a lot of plastic getting into rural area as well these days. So, there are what is the how registration of producer, recycler, manufacturer. I am not going to kind of read line by line from here, you can read it, you will have these slides as a reading material, but the bottom line is that of course any person, any company going for making the plastic, they have to get a registration, has to obtain a registration from SPCB or Pollution Control Committee. Now, they have to renew registration, or renewal registration has to be made, and if they will if every person recycling or processing waste or proposing to recycle or process waste, again they have to get the registration and renewal. SPCB or SPCC will not issue certificate of renewal unless the unit process valid consent against Water and Air Act. So, they have to make sure that they follow the Water and Air Act and they get that consent, and then only they will get the registration done. And these are pretty much common for other regulations too, not only for plastic waste. And registration contrary to the rule will valid for a period of, first it will be for 1 year, and if it is good for a 1 year, if they do good service, can be extended for 3 years, and they shall not without providing. So, if somebody is doing something wrong, you have to give them an opportunity to come and present, you just cannot cancel their registration. So, those things those provisions are there. Every application shall be made at least 120 days before the expiry of the validity. So, if your registration is going to be expired, is going to go away in 120 days, you have to do it before that. So, those kind of now what are the retailers and street vendors has to do as per rule number 14? They will not sell or provide commodities to consumer in carry bags or less than 40 microns, plastic sheet, multi-layered packaging which are not manufactured or labeled as per prescribed rules. So, they have to look at the whatever they buy as a packaging material, as a carry bag and other things that they do the customers, they have to make sure this company where they are buying from are registered, they are authentic, not some fake company which has no registration with PCB and is still selling those product. Every retailer selling in plastic carry bags, covers made of plastic sheet labeled according to this rule shall be liable to pay a fine. So, which is again kind of similar stuff that you see in other reports as well. So, explicit pricing of carry bag will be willing to provide carry bag dispensing any commodity shall register with the local body. The local body with a period of 6 months, payment of minimum fee of rupees 48,000, that is 4,500 per month as a plastic waste management fee. Now, this I am not sure, maybe for shopkeepers also, small shopkeepers it will be a big deal because that is like too much of a money probably for them, and especially for the street vendors. I am really street vendors to expect them to pay rupees 4,000 per month. So, there is that ambiguity in that rule whether the street vendors also will have to pay 4,000 per month. That is a lot of money for a street vendor to pay, because a street vendor, say if he makes 300-400 rupees per day, say 400 rupees per day, so 30 days and with a day off, so that may comes down to 25 days or 25 days if he works in a month. So, that is around 10,000 rupees. So, out of 10,000, that is I am talking about his profit and all that, and out of that if he has to pay 4,000 as a, so his monthly income goes down from 10,000 to 6,000. So, that is where actually we need to provide a cheaper alternative to plastic, because plastic is cheap, plastic works really well, it does the function for which it is designed for, that is why people use it. Nobody wants to harm the environment if they do not have to, because if there is an alternative to plastic which is cheaper, almost similar price, and then it is good for environment, everybody would like to go and use that, because but since plastic is so cheap and plastic is so convenient, and that is why people use that. But for street vendors to expect 4,000 per month, I hope it is not, my interpretation is wrong, I hope it is wrong, but the way it is written, that is what it means, that almost 4,000, they will have to pay 4,000 per month, and will be nobody will be able to do that. And then there will be of course a violation of the rules, there will be corruption of the police and all that. So, it's not, so these are the things which, when I say that rule needs to be realistic, rule cannot be just made and which cannot be really implemented, and people, even if they want to follow, may not be able to follow it because it is not practical. Now, only the registered shopkeepers or street vendors shall be eligible to provide plastic carry bag. The local body shall utilize the amount paid by the customer for the carry bag exclusively for the sustainability of the waste management system within their jurisdiction. Now, that is also, there has to be a separate pool of money. Now, that again is a problem. Many times the ULB budget, the budget of a urban local body is not divided into water, wastewater, soil, solid waste and other stuff. It's all, many times it's a combined budget. Now, in the combined budget, depending on the councillors, depending on who calls the shots, who is more powerful, and then whoever is more interested in what area, certain project gets funded, certain project does not get funded. So, and there is a lot of dynamics goes there, like the political dynamics and other dynamics which goes in there while these decisions are made. So, but in terms of getting this 4,000 rupees and then trying to use it for waste management, it's a plastic waste management, it's a good move, but as long as there is a separate accounting, separate budget. But then there is requirement of a separate employee at ULB as well to take care of those stuff, and then the cost, there will be associated cost associated with, there will be cost associated with that. So, those things need to be there. And then in rule 17, it says every person engaged in recycling or processing has to provide an annual report. Local body has to provide an annual report to SPCB. State Pollution Control Board or PCCs will make annual progress report, annual report to CBCB, and CPCB will provide that to central government. So, there is a lot of reporting requirement. So, again going back to that sustainability outlook discussion, it says heading on the right path, but certain ambiguities remain. So, as I was trying to highlight as well, it is a good rule, it is a good set of rules, but there are practical challenges there, of course, but there are certain ambiguities as well. So, India's we are producing a lot of plastic waste. Some of the newer data actually suggests that we are producing much more than 15,342 tons. It is close to something around more than 20,000 tons, some of the newer data suggest. The government notified plastic waste management rules addressing the erstwhile plastic waste. Some states like Jharkhand, Himachal Pradesh and Pune have set an example by managing waste at their respective level. The real penetrating question is, have we moved beyond just professing for plastic waste management as a professor, or this article attempts to critically analyze the difference between the new rule as well as highlight the key steps which needs to be taken for plastic waste management system in the country. So, it is a good framework in the terms of plastic waste. It tries to reduce the waste, it tries to minimize the waste. There is a multi stakeholder collaboration is needed for a scalable solution and to avoid adverse environmental impact of plastic waste. So, many of these aspects is captured in the plastic waste management rules. So, it provides a good framework, but it does fail to address the key objective of reducing and minimizing of using of plastic at the first place. So, how to try to let the production of plastic waste being going down. So, that part is not like a reduce reuse part. There is a little bit less emphasized. Waste management side is emphasized, but many of those things which is being emphasized still needs to be the infrastructure needs to be developed. So, multi-stake collaboration is needed. It's so realistically tested first on local level, then you apply to the national level. Need for EPR policy, clear directions, comprehensive articulated. What does EPR policy you are talking about? And incentives on informal sector, like how to get the informal sectors involved. Online retail companies should also be brought under this PMW plastic waste management rules, because nowadays if you look at the online companies, Amazon, Flipkart and a lot of others like Jabong, there are several if you go online, there are several online portals which sell you products which comes with lots of plastic packaging. Now, who is responsible for that in terms of EPR? There has to be someone responsible. So, those clarity is needed, and there has to be a multi-level collaboration, a multi-stakeholder collaboration. You need to get policymakers, ULBs, waste generators, plastic industry solution providers, and they have to come together on a table and try to find a possible technical solution or management solution for this problem, especially from a sustainability angle. When we talk about economics, we talk about environmental aspect, which kind of the technological aspect as well, and also at the same time the social aspect. So, social aspect is also very, very important. So, each stakeholders need to take full their responsibility and try to come up with better solution for plastic waste management. So, and then come to have a scalable model. So, right now I think the focus, of course, we need to get on gradually phasing out of those plastic components which are creating nuisance in the environment. We will not be able to phase out entire plastic, like it's not that from 10 years from now there will be zero plastic in our usage. Plastic will still be there, but at least the ones which are creating more problem, like single use plastic, those microbeads, microplastics, which are becoming like a health hazard and environmental hazard, we need to gradually phase them out and try to use alternative material, which are cleaner material, which are greener material. But other than that, for the other plastic containing stuff, the plastic will continue to come to the waste stream, and we have to have a good plastic waste management plan. So, most of the stuff, even for municipal solid waste or construction demolition waste or electronic waste that we kind of talk about, that's kind of the area I also work on as my research or consultancy or training, teaching, whatever. So what we have found is technology is there, waste is there, but taking a proper technology for proper waste and having that interaction, that is what is missing. And sometimes we try to make things too complicated, we try to make something too good, and then in the process we basically end up failing. And so we look for a smaller, simpler solution to start with, and then you add layer of complexities to that, rather than start with a very complex solution, which requires a lot of technological input and other things, and then it becomes we cannot manage it. We can get a foreign vendor and do it for us in the beginning, but then after doing it, the foreign vendor will take the money and go away, and who will run it? So I'm not saying we cannot take anything from foreign, but at the same time we have to Indianize it and make sure it works in the Indian condition. So that is very, very important, and those kind of things what we need to brainstorm and come up with solution for this plastic waste as well. So there was an amendment in 2018 which they recommended a central registration system, producer, importer and brand owners. So that will kind of ease a little bit on in terms of if it's a central registration system. So rather than at the state level, it can cater to the entire country. So because the waste product may be made in one state, but may be sold in some other state. So those kind of things will be taken care of. And then even for the online stuff, it may be taken care of as well. The rule clarifies that registration mechanisms should be automated and should take into account ease of doing business for producer, recycler and all that. So CPCB, the central CPCB will do it for the registration of the producer, importer and brand owners. Producers with presence of more than 2 states need to apply for national registry for CPCB, while small producers or brand owner operating within one state, 2 states require a state level registration with the State Pollution Control Board. So you don't have to come to CPCB, but if you have your operations at several states, it's better you go for the CPCB. So and then there are certain guidelines has been developed as part of the solid and liquid resource management by SLRM. This is the solid liquid resource management. So there are certain guiding principle, high level guidance for state SBM directors, implementation framework for district collectors. So we'll look at some of those stuff. So it says that as a guiding principle, there is an urgent need to reconsider strategy about ban. They need to be reinforced with a strong IIC modules. IIC module basically information modules and stricter enforcement as well as viable alternatives for plastic product. So there should be viable alternatives we need to look at too. So because just banning it's not going to work. And subsidy driven model should be replaced with outward focused model. We should not, again, subsidy driven model does not really work on a long term. So you cannot give a subsidy forever. So basically we should look at more on an outward focused model where it's a self-sustained at least. MOUs should be signed with companies to accept plastic as input and bulk purchasing and be done by the governments. This can sustain market driven cycle of plastic waste management and all that. Collection of plastic waste should be formalized. Right now mostly it's informal sector, local entrepreneurship should be supported. EPR should be leveraged to place burdens on large producers for collection of plastic waste. There should be strong IEC, that information and education component, and monitoring across the value chain to ensure the systems are working optimally. So we need to monitor the system as well. So essentially what it tries to tell you is that plastic waste should be, right now it's mostly done by informal sector. We have to start looking at formalizing that sector as much as possible. Of course, there will be resistance because but those informal sector needs a lot of training, a lot of capacity building. So in terms of doing these things in a much better way, which they can do, but we need to provide them a training for that. Citizens can contact a representative, tweet at them, call them, write letters and emails. So to make the government accountable. Ask a representative to release strategies for combating plastic pollution, like how they will do it, whether find out whether your country has banned micro beads in personal care product. If they haven't, send a letter urging action. Ask for a timeline, whether you ask your local government or ban plastic based or national government to ban micro beads. So there has to be a timeline associated with that how long it will be done. So, and then show up at the community events. So show up at community events, talk whenever there is some gathering in terms of getting people feedback. You should be there to give the feedback. So again, if each one of us does not contribute, then how we should not, if I'm not contributing to it, I have no right to expect that other people will contribute to that. So it's basically we have to contribute if we really want to make our city and state and the country clean. Follow up, you get the information to ensure representative give the commitment they make, call, email, follow up again, thank them when measures pass the reducing plastic pollution, protect the environment. If they fail to meet your expectation, tell them that it was not done properly. So that was kind of overall in terms of Indian waste management rules, Indian plastic waste management rules. We took quite amount of time. And if you look at, we covered like 3.5 videos, more than nearly 4 videos on that. So almost 2 hours of time discussing threadbare the plastic waste management rules of 2016. So I hope I want you to really understand that. I know that rules are not a little bit boring sometimes, but we need to learn the rules. So please watch the videos again and again and again if you have to, and then you will have the slides, so you can look at as a reading material as too, and you can download those slides as well. So download those waste management rules as well, including hazardous waste management rule. So let's start looking at, for maybe 5 minutes or 5-6 minutes or so, whatever time is left for us in this particular video. We'll look at this global rules and regulation, and then we try to compare with how this compares with the Indian rules and regulation. So in terms of the global rules and regulation for plastic waste, it's kind of United Nations, as we all know, has a Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. So SDGs is a plan for action for people, actually for people, planet and prosperity. So PPP there, consisting of 17 sustainable development goal, and out of that goal 14 aims to conserve and sustainably use the ocean, seas and marine resources for sustainable development. So that was in like a goal number 14, that was sustainable development goal. So in September 2015, 193 member states including UK adopted this agenda and committed themselves to work tirelessly for the full implementation of this agenda by 2030. Now 14 includes the target of that by 2025 we will prevent and significantly reduce marine pollution of all kinds, in particular from land based activities including marine debris and nutrient pollution. So that's what it's a they want to reduce the marine pollution, land based debris, and that has a lot of plastics, which we kind of already know from some of the recent papers, and kind of what how the plastic is getting into the water. We kind of discussed that as well. So by 2025 the goal is to significantly reduce that, which is we have to see how potentially that can be done. So that's what United Nations big picture goal, and taking that goal many countries are working on their regulation. So in UK, for example, by the end of 2042 they are looking at achieving zero avoidable plastic waste. So the plan outlined ways to reduce the plastic that contribute to pollution and broader steps to encourage recycling and the more thoughtful use of resources. Action like looking across the whole life cycle. So they are looking at the life cycle of the whole process. Launching a call for evidence in 2018, seeking views on how the tax system or changes could reduce the amount of single use plastic waste. So should we start charging and all that? So that was kind of focus there. And so some of the, in terms of little bit of summary of that, they have in terms of rules at the production stage, they talk about encouraging producers to take more responsibility for the environmental impact of their products. It's kind of part of EPR. Working with the industries to rationalize packaging, formats and material, make sure the more plastic can be easily recycled. So that's what this kind of interaction needs to happen in our country as well, where we get these industry involved in the same room with the stakeholders, with the like government authorities, where we try to say whether it can be easily recycled. What if do we have to change the process of in this industries a little bit, so that this plastic when it comes to the waste stream is easily recyclable than what it is today, especially for mixed plastic and all that. Reforming our producer responsibility system to incentivize producers to take greater responsibility for the environmental impact. Encourage and development of bio-based, biodegradable and environmental friendly plastic through bioeconomy strategy. Again, this is we have done some work in this area. 100% biodegradable plastic is very difficult to achieve because its strength is not that great, but there are studies are still going on. A lot of studies are going on around the world to find that good mix where we can use it as a like a structural material and all that. Microbeads banned by exploring whether we can ban other problematic materials or suitable alternative exist. Maybe it depends. If it has risk, then we can do it. Otherwise, we don't have to do it. So you saw European Union kind of big picture, and then you saw the UK as well. Continuing with that, but it says that at the end of use stage will make it easier to recycle by continuing to support the industry led on pack recycling labeling system. So that's our continuing to implement the litter strategy, implementing voluntarily and regular intervention to that look at that can cut the amount of commonly littered items and improve recycling. So those things are going on. At the end of life of waste management, we focus on increase the rate of recycling, work with the industries. We want to accelerate this shift, working with the waste management industry and reprocessors to increase the proportion of plastic packaging, talk with the research council, biodegradable plastic. So those are a lot of things that can be done. So let's kind of stop over here, and we'll continue this discussion on we talked about so in this particular video we looked at we finally completed the remaining part of Indian waste management rules, and then we have started looking at some of these global rules, and you will see the comparison between the Indian rules and the global rules. So in the next video we'll continue to do that, and that will be the last video for this particular week on regulations related to plastic waste management. So again, thank you very much for being part of this course, and I hope you are enjoying it. You are getting what you wanted. If you have any suggestions, any feedback, feel free to put it on the discussion board. So thank you, and see you again in the next video.